Welcome to episode 3 of the Rams Club, our not-so-new sports show anymore. We've been doing it for 3 consecutive weeks now. Myself, Greg Tomasco to my right, Danielle O'Malley to my other right, John Frieders. So we'll be bringing you guys your latest sports information for this week, starting off with boys soccer. Obviously, an interesting season for them. They've been doing a lot better this year than they have in the past. What do you guys have on them?
So boys soccer this year, they are 4-8-3 at the regular season, and they did not qualify for FCX, but they did make states this year just as they did last year. So things are looking up for them. They're just playing a little inconsistently.
Right.
They need to kind of get their footing so that they have a successful state run because they're not a bad team. They move the ball around really well, and they have a strong goalie in Joseph Gashi. So they definitely have a chance here. They just need to kind of find their footing so that they stay consistent throughout states.
Right. Their most recent loss was to Trumbull, a 3-0 loss, and their most recent win was to St. Joe's, which is a pretty big win, 1-0. They have one regular season game left versus Ridgefield, which is on Tuesday, so very exciting, and the state playoffs begin for them on 11/14.
Yeah, you talk about it. They've definitely had a bit of an inconsistent season, but they did lose a couple of key pieces last year in a couple of the seniors that went off, but they have been playing pretty well. You talk about consistency. They tied Staples and Darien, who are both two very solid teams. Then they unfortunately lost to Greenwich, got completely smoked, lost 7-0. And then just this week, they played Bridgeport Central and were able to sneak out a win against a 2-11 Bridgeport Central team. They snuck out a nice little win with the last-second goal. I think the goal was with 8 or 9 minutes left.
Right.
So they've definitely been a bit inconsistent. But we'll look to see what happens, what they can do in states. Obviously, once states start, it's a whole new season.
Right, and they struggled to get the ball in the back of the net. Only 19 goals with 36 goals allowed this season. So very interesting to see how they'll be in the state playoffs. They can turn the stat around. Maybe they'll make it pretty far. So moving on, we got boys golf. Obviously, a very exciting sport to cover. We had Bill Brown on the broadcast with an interview earlier this year. They've been struggling a bit. What do you guys have on them?
Yeah, well, obviously they're a bit of a young team. You see some key names. Obviously, Andrew Brandt just came up he's started on junior varsity. You also have Patrick Sachs, who's having a little bit of an up and down season. He was expected to be their star this year. Brooks Thompson has a bit rose to the occasion. Obviously, Captain Johnny Condaderis. So they are a very solid team, but they're also another very young team in this Rams sports.
Yeah, unlike last year, they did not qualify for FCX this year, which was kind of a disappointment as boys golf is known to be one of the stronger teams here at New Canaan. But they will play in state, so hopefully they can kind of, again, like boys soccer, gain their footing and kind of fall back into the rhythm that they're used to from seasons ago.
Right, and Brooks Thompson playing very well, obviously, this season. You said his name, nominated for Rudin Report Player of the Week as he shot 1 under par at 35, which is pretty impressive. So moving on, we now have girls cross country. We'll get into them. Obviously, a lot of exciting things coming from the field. John, what do you have on that?
Yeah, you talk about it. Now is a completely different season. Obviously, Wednesday was FCX, which is a very big meet, and that's the beginning of the postseason. Up until then, you have a bunch of little meets that don't really mean much. A couple of the times, Brenson Rest, Charlotte Moore, or Rodea Releva, who are their top runners. And now is the postseason. Now is where you win the hardware. And they unfortunately lost 79-49 to Greenwich on Wednesday, which was definitely a tough loss. They got second in FCX last year, so they came in hoping to improve. And unfortunately, just fell a little bit short. They did have all 5 of their runners in that made all FCX, whether it was first or second team. First team is 1 through 15, and second team is 16 through 30. You had Charlotte Moore, who got 3rd, Rodea Releva, who got 7th. So the 2 stars, who are also only juniors, they're in Danielle and I's grade. So they have some promise, and they look to build upon that as they go to states, which is next Saturday, and then state opens. But they look to make it farther, and they look to perform a little bit better.
Right, so obviously a lot of talent coming from that corner. Moving on, we have girls soccer. Very exciting things coming from them this season. They're kind of turning it back around after a little bit of a losing streak, and they just tied Trumbull in a 1-1, physical game, might I add. And in that first half there, they scored the early goal with the corner from Paige Place and the header from Ava Perticillo. So this team was kind of got ahead on their senior night versus Trumbull, and Trumbull just came back and scored a late goal with 5 minutes left to play. Danielle, what do you remember from that game?
Well, I was in the stands with that game. It was definitely an exciting one. Like you said, it was super physical, but the difference between the St. Joe's game, which they lost 5-0 in, and this game was that it seemed like they had more drive. They were really moving the ball well through the middle. They were using their center mids, like you said, Paige Place and Sydney Patton, and they were just moving the ball, getting it up to the outsides, getting it up to Devin Russell, who has that speed at the top.
Right.
They were getting a lot of chances, and in those last 5 minutes when the game was tied 1-1, they had a lot of opportunities. They, I think, had like 3 corners, all in the last 5 minutes,
they did.
all great balls.
Right.
They just weren't able to capitalize on those opportunities, but there is definitely a lot of promise as they're moving into the postseason. It was a really, really good game.
Right, and the girls will play Danbury today at 4 p.m., so stay tuned. That one will be broadcasted on New Canaan Athletics YouTube account. So if you guys want to watch that, check that one out. That's all from us in segment 1. We'll be back to you with a segment 2 interview. John will be interviewing Jacob Kozar, Ryan Boulanger from the boys cross country team, and then shortly after we have Danielle interviewing some of the girls swim and divers. So thank you guys. That was it from segment 1.
Welcome back, and thank you for joining us as this is segment 2 of episode 3. And this time we have Ryan and Jacob Kozar in front of the camera, 2 elite runners for the New Canaan cross country boys team. Jacob himself has a 5K time of 17:14, as well as a 6:42 on the track, a 4:42 mile, and a 10:32 2-mile, which is blazing fast. And Ryan, you also have times to speak for yourself. You have a 16:55 5K, a 4:41 mile, and an 11:09 2-mile. But obviously, you're still improving. You guys are obviously, you make up the top group of the boys this year, and you've had some really successful races after an interesting last year and a couple years prior. This year, you guys came out showing you won the Wilton Invitational as well as the Winding Trails Invitational, and you come in with a record of 12-2, as well, so tied for first place in the FCAC with Fairfield Ward. What has clicked this so far for you guys?
I think so far we've just really developed a very strong top 5. I think like our coach is just really developing us to become a bigger team because we need those top 5 guys to score, and so getting everyone faster. Like we've always had a really fast top 3, but this year it's really just starting to work to get those next 2 guys to help us start to win stuff, which is really great.
Yeah, kind of adding on to what Ryan said, we've had a year where it's like some guys have their on days and some guys have their off days. Not everyone's consistent, so to have those guys to fall back on in some of the meets and just be like, I'm falling off on this meet, now we'll have the second guy who's going to be able to score for us. So it's getting us all running in a pack and really pulling those 4th and 5th guys up to this top group for this year.
Yeah, what's interesting is, I know I mentioned your guys' times. Spencer Payne also has a 5K time that's sub 17 at just around 16:41, which he ran at Winding Trails. So he would be considered your 3rd top runner, and you guys are all kind of interchangeable, as well as throwing Braden Barber into the mix, which you guys have an amazing top 4. Who do you see as that 5th guy, and then even that 6th, 7th guy, as those guys count in scoring?
Yeah, I think so far this season, our 5, 6, and 7 guys have been pretty interchangeable. Ryan Jordan he's a sophomore. He's been developing into that 5th place. He's been doing really well. And then it's Andrew Reed, Faisal Zakir Hussein, and JD Disturco that have been kind of fighting for that 5, 6, and 7 spot along with Ryan. So Ryan's kind of solidified himself as the 5, but it's been really nice competition dynamic for them. So we're pushing each other every practice and every race to try to fill those spots.
We've seen really good races from Ryan Jordan, especially, just as Boulanger said. But JD has also had a really great season, coming up from last year being, like a JV, one of our best JV guys, to now almost running top of the line with us. And it's really incredible to see the group kind of come together, and we've always had a lot of trust in Ryan Jordan to be this 5th runner on our team. But a lot of the guys are really stepping up this year, and it's showing in our season record so far.
Yeah, you talk about improvements. Cross country season is a little bit of a short season, just around 2 or 3 months. 3 months if you make it to the States, and you keep on competing through the end of October and November, which is really when it matters, when racing matters. You talk FCAC meets are throughout the season, but then the postseason is what matters, as Coach Martin has probably said to you guys. But what do you contribute to seeing these improvements? Because cross country season, you see progression throughout years in high school as you mature. From 9th to 12th grade, your times can look completely different. But what would you say is, what was your summer running this season like? Let's go start there.
This summer, our top guys did around above 400 miles for the entire summer. So that would be 40 to 45 mile weeks. Wake up, run in the morning, and sometimes we do a double run and always get a long run in too. And I think really something that our coach has been doing well this year, a lot of other top teams like Ridgefield and Staples and Greenwich, those guys, they'll hold their top guys from running meets that, dual meets that don't have as much weighting around them and scoring. And so this year we've been doing that. So a few dual meets and other, we've been holding our top 5 from running or running slower, and so that we can really save ourselves and conserve our energy for the postseason for when it really matters.
Yeah, adding on to what he said, during the summer it was a little hard, kids were on vacation and whatnot. It was hard to get the group together, but still we had a lot of evening runs as a team. Communication was great this summer, and I feel like having guys to run with during the summer definitely pushed a lot of the guys to go faster and harder. And it definitely, like I said before, is showing this year.
Yeah, you talk about running in the summer, and although running is an individual team sport, you obviously can contribute a lot of it to that team dynamic, that togetherness, the bond of the team. And how would you say, let's get into a little bit of leadership, teamwork. How would you say that develops over the summer as well as just throughout the seasons as it goes on?
Yeah, I think it's really the people who show up during the whole summer, and we all, most of our team goes to a camp at the end of the summer to kind of help get us engaged for the season and get some more training in and get to meet all the top guys in Connecticut. And so it's the people who are really involved in the summer running, and when we're all together, some key names like me, Spencer, Jacob, our captains, Braden, and they've all been really a fundamental part of our summer training. And so I think that's how we see who the real leaders are, is who's there all the time, every day, showing up, putting in the work, and that's who you can really connect to and turn to for leadership.
Yeah, captains have been doing a great job this year. We've had a lot better team dynamic when it comes to the freshmen. When I started out as a freshman, it's the seniors are a bit intimidating to us, but I think this year the captains have done a really good job, picking up the freshmen. Even though we don't run together all the time, just with team events and just things like that, I think our team is really coming together and getting encouraged by the veterans of the team. So we love to see it this year. Yeah.
Yeah, and you talk about it. Obviously, you had a successful regular season, but the postseason is what counts. You're not looking to have a crazy good record in the regular season and then just not place well at FCAC championships or at states. What are your expectations? Obviously, FCACs are tomorrow, which is Wednesday, October 17th, or October 18th, sorry. And then states, what are your expectations? And even just, what are your thoughts going into your race? What's some of the pre-planning that you do?
Yeah, I just think before my races, I try to visualize my success and our team doing well. So I think you can always trust. I always trust my coach and my teammates, and I trust that we've done so much training to get to this point. And so it's really just all about executing, and you just gotta have faith in the training that are the miles that are under your feet, as our coach will say. I think our prospects are looking really good going into the postseason. We have a lot of guys that can be in the top 20 at FCACs and states. And we improved dramatically from the year before last year to last year. I think last year we were sixth place at states, coming from the year before that we were 22nd. So that's a huge improvement in my book. And I think this year we can try to nail down trying to get into that top 3.
Yeah, no, adding on to what Ryan said, it's been an eye-opening season, just watching the group come together, having guys pick up other guys and just having a very reliant team. And I think that this FCX is going to be a lot different, having a lot of younger guys coming up. And I think our JV race will do very good. We've had a lot of great freshmen this year. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what they can do. I won't be here, obviously, but Ryan will be. So hopefully we can see them next year, too, dominate FCX.
Wow, guys, that was definitely an amazing interview. And thank you for joining us here with Jacob Kozar again and Ryan Boulanger, two of New Canaan's top 3 or 4 runners, however you want to put them. But Ryan, you won a couple meets early in the year, and Jacob, you've been super close behind as well. Thank you for joining us on segment 2 of episode 3. And next we have a nice swimming interview from Danielle O'Malley. We'll be interviewing Emma Peloso and Kate Frangione. So Danielle, take it away.
Thank you, John, and everyone. Welcome to segment 3 of the Rams Club. I'm Danielle O'Malley, joined with senior swimmer Emma Peloso and freshman diver Julie Frangione. So thanks for being here with us, guys, and let's get right into it. So your season isn't going exactly as planned. You guys have a 1-5 record. So how does this affect the overall atmosphere of the team, especially as playoffs are right around the corner?
Yeah, so I think that coming into the season, we knew it was going to be a tough season because we're swimming some really tough teams this year. We're swimming a bunch of double L teams, and we're a single L team because there aren't enough single L teams. So, we knew it was going to be rough, but that's okay. And we're even though it's been rough, I think we've had a lot of fun. We've kept a really positive attitude, and even though maybe collectively as a team our record isn't great, we've had a lot of really good swims, and people have improved a lot, especially the freshman class, especially Julie. And so I think that even though, again, our record isn't great, we've definitely, I think out of my 4 years, I've had the most fun this season because the team is really unified this year and we've been just having fun even though it hasn't been going very well. So yeah, I think overall it's been fine.
So as you mentioned, you're swimming a lot of tough teams, but not only that, you guys have also lost some very strong swimmers in Kelsey Haley and Lily Dunn. So how have these losses, along with the others, affected the season so far?
Yeah, I think there definitely have been some gaps we've needed to fill. Kelsey was, for 4 years was great, and Lily Dunn is a very strong swimmer. So, it's definitely been tough, but I think we've worked around it. We've had a bunch of different lineup changes. People have been swimming different events. And so I think it's been good for the team because people can swim different events and really try out and see what maybe they didn't think they would be good at.
Yeah, so flip side, Julie, the divers are actually undefeated this season. This is obviously an amazing feat, especially since you guys lost star Caitlin Maggio. So how have you guys filled those shoes, and how have the divers just been able to dominate this season?
I think we have Emma Kelly. She's been really strong for us. She's gotten first every meet. And then Lauren and Grace have really improved this season. And so with the 4 of us, we're able to get 11 points and beat the other team by a solid amount to give the swimmers a head start.
So obviously you guys are swimming and diving, it's 2 very separate things, but you're a combined sport. So can you describe the relationship between swimmers and divers and how that is really important to the overall team dynamic and community?
Yeah, so I think, obviously we practice at different times, we do different things, but I feel like this year especially, the 2 teams have been, even though it's one team, the 2 separate groups have been really close. Again, there's only 4 divers, but we have team dinners together, and I feel like we've been doing a lot more team bonding activities where we've been together. And I don't know what do you think about it?
Yeah, I think because we're obviously friends on both teams. The swimmers are friends with the divers, and the divers are friends with the swimmers, and we have all the team dinners and all the extra team bonding, and I think we're just really close as one. It's not 2 separate teams.
Mm-hmm.
So finally, as I mentioned before, playoffs are looming right over your heads. You guys only have 1 regular season meet left. So what are you guys doing to prepare to ensure that you dominate those?
So I think that obviously we've been focusing on the long term. So we actually are amping up our training right now because right before at least for the swimmers, before we go to FCX and states, we tampered down the training a little bit. So kind of just sticking through, this is the tough time in training. So kind of just being positive during this time, and maybe our dual meets we haven't been doing the best, but keeping an eye on FCX and states, and that's where I think we do really well usually. And so diving is different. So what are you guys doing?
In the middle of the season, Joe, our coach, realized that FCX were coming around the corner, so we started having double practices. Once a week we'd have 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon, and he's made practices a little bit longer. And then for FCX, I think we're just going to stick to after school practices just once a week so we don't overdo it before the championship.
Okay, great. Well, thank you guys so much. This has been segment 3 of the Rams Club. I'm Danielle O'Malley alongside Emma Peloso and Julie Frangione. Thanks.
And that's all from us. Episode 3 of the Rams Club finishing up here. My partners, Danielle O'Malley, John Frieders, myself, Gray Tomasco. In case you're wondering why we're wearing our red and black, it's Spirit Week here at NCHS. We have the pep rally later today, and then this weekend we have the homecoming football game against Wilton. Obviously, you know NCTV will be there. We're streaming it. Very exciting. You can find the link on our YouTube channel or in our Instagram bio. All great things this weekend, guys. Thanks for filming your segments of the Rams Club. Signing off. Thank you.